What's going on, guys? JP back at you once again, bringing you guys MMA Cast episode number 4. And please, guys, follow me on Twitter at MMA Cast. That's pretty much the only social media I'll plug for now, but would really appreciate a follow. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, topics for future episodes, please leave your feedback down in the comments below on YouTube or on Twitter at MMA Cast. And with that said, guys, this is going to be a pretty slow show. Not much happening in the world of MMA, not a whole lot of news stories. One tragic event, which we'll get to in a second. Besides that, we're going to cover a little Bellator Dynamite 2, a little recap on that show, as well as maybe get into a little bit of tough talk, and maybe just touch on a regional promotion, Legacy FC, very slightly. There's not a big event this week. There's no World Series of Fighting. There's no Bellator, and of course there's no UFC, but we are just we're actually under 2 weeks away from the grandest event of them all, and that is UFC 200. But really, it even starts earlier than that, when you have Joanna Jędrzejczyk taking on Claudia Gadelha, and I believe the day after that you have RDA taking on Eddie Alvarez. I mean, it is just a fight lovers weekend. I'm taking a vacation off of work just to catch up on all of it, just to watch all of it. I cannot wait. I'm super stoked for it. It's so close. Please, for the love of the MMA gods, keep these cards together, because I cannot take a big fight being a big fighter pulling out of one of the big fights. I just can't take it. Please, no. Anyway, guys, some very unfortunate news today. It looks like UFC veteran Ryan Jimmo was actually, I guess you would say, murdered. He was killed today, and it was a hit and run. I'm not exactly sure what happened. I think it happened late last night, possibly. He is Canadian. I believe it did happen in Canada, and obviously, rest in peace to Ryan Jimmo. I think it's absolutely terrible. It seems like the report is saying that Jimmo approached occupants of a vehicle in a parking lot of the H2O lounge following an alleged altercation. As he walked away, the alleged suspect's vehicle accelerated, struck him, and fled the scene. The vehicle is a dark-colored pickup truck with oversized tires and clear taillights. The two suspects have not been found by the Edmonton Police Department as of this time. This is absolutely terrible. I believe Jimmo fought in the UFC 7 or so times. I think he had that brutal knockout in like 5 seconds of Anthony Parash. And he's a fighter that I never really loved. Although I did think he was very creatively funny. You know, he kind of did his little robot dance thing when he won and stuff. Very entertaining fighter. Just wasn't a favorite of mine. But that said, it's absolutely terrible when any of these guys die at a young age. He was only 34 years of age, and it's even more terrible when they die in such a terrible way. Just such a way in which it really just stinks to know that this man's family, his friends, are going to all be suffering over, a couple of scumbags who decided to take the life of their father, their, husband, their, friends, their friend. I mean, there's so many people that we're talking about Ryan Jimmo today. I truly feel sorry. Don't know the full extent of the story, but I definitely feel sorry for the families. Rest in peace to Ryan Jimmo. Hopefully we do not have to keep covering these awful deaths in MMA going forward. Let's have a healthy 2016 for the rest of it, at least. And rest in peace. Alright, guys, so we're going to get into Bellator Dynamite 2. So, interesting thing happened. I actually did not watch this live. I set up the old DVR, and I headed out to the drive-in because I was going to catch a couple of flicks. And, had it been a major UFC, I would have obviously stayed home and watched it. But I really honestly just wasn't feeling this Bellator card that much to make it a must-see on Friday night when it's summer, and I haven't been to drive-in in ages, or at least this drive-in that I went to. I decided to skip watching it live, and I figured I would just avoid social media and check it out the next day because it would be too late by the time I got home. So I went to work the next day, avoided spoilers all day, came home, and my DVR did not record the event. I was so pissed, and I was just angry and frustrated, but luckily I had a backup. I always have backup plans with this stuff. The living room DVR actually did record it. So me and my pap cooked up some steaks, and we watched Bellator Dynamite 2. And I gotta say, guys, not the best card, but it was thoroughly entertaining for some of the fights. And one thing that I want to say, guys, is Bellator, to me, shines with its few stars that it has in terms of exciting fighters who are not yesteryear's fighters. So, like the Michael Chandlers of the world. That's the fights I really get excited for. It's not the Quentin Jackson fights anymore. It's not the Ken Shamrocks and the Hoist Gracie fights anymore, even though it does add a mystique to it and definitely gets me more interested because it's a bigger thing. This Satoshi Ishii fight versus Quentin Jackson, I was not into from the very beginning, and I was even less into it as it was happening. So, let's go down the card a little bit. I did not watch any of the prelims, obviously. I did see that there was one notable thing on there, one notable performance, and that is Justin Lawrence got a KO in the second round of his fight at featherweight. Justin Lawrence, I believe, was on one of the seasons of Tough. He also fought in the UFC for a little bit, got bounced from the UFC, but seems to be doing all right since he got out of his, since he got bounced out of UFC. Then I did not get to watch the Bellator kickboxing card except for the final fight, which was the Hisaki Kato versus Joe Schilling fight. But that fight was brutal. I mean, Joe Schilling, damn, I mean, getting knocked out twice by Hisaki Kato. I think one was a Superman punch in the MMA fight, and then they have a rematch with kickboxing, and it's a spinning back fist. Two highlight reel finishes on the same guy, and Joe Schilling has got to be feeling it today. So you also have Kerry Melendez won a unanimous decision over Sarah Howe. I wish I would have got to see that fight because I was interested in Kerry Melendez. I believe that is Gilbert Melendez's wife, and I watched her in the first Dynamite event. I thought she was pretty cool. She looked pretty scrappy. I'm not a huge kickboxing fan, but I did find it pretty entertaining the last time. And I try to get into it a little bit. I watch a little bit of Glory. I honestly, guys, if I'm going to speak truthfully, I like Muay Thai better than kickboxing. When Lion Fights is on Access TV, I'll catch it here and there, and it's always exciting. It always seems way more exciting than the kickboxing bouts that are on now Bellator and formerly what I used to watch was Glory, which I'll still check out here and there on Fight Pass. But yeah, man, something about Muay Thai is just more exciting to me. But yeah, so let's move into the actual main card on the Bellator portion of it. The night opened up with Matt Mitrione taking on Carl Sioman-Utafa. And I actually had a feeling that Matt Mitrione might lose this fight just based on his inconsistency. He's just very inconsistent. Like he'll pick up big wins and then he'll pick up big losses. So as I was watching, not very far into the first round, Mitrione gets clipped, and I thought he was out. I thought it was over. I was like, screaming. I was like, oh shit, Mitrione's done. I didn't even think it was a consideration that he was still in the fight. It might have been just the angle in which it was broadcast, but I think John McCarthy was reffing it, but I'm not sure. If he was reffing it, I believe he let it go on. Well, I know he let it go on, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I couldn't believe he was still letting it go on, and then it was, Carl Simiotafia, guys, he, took it down to the ground. He followed Mitrione down to the ground, and Mitrione ended up getting the upper hand. Ends up standing up and tries to deliver a bomb a couple times, and then he connects with one, and Oda Simion-Tafa was out, and he was kind of still in there. And I mean, if you're gonna let Mitrione survive, even though I'm almost certain Mitrione was like knocked out for a second there. I don't know why they didn't with Simion-Tafa. That guy's name, man. I'm gonna just call him Carl from now on. I don't know why they did, Big John or whoever was reffing didn't, give him a little bit more time, but he didn't seem to protest it much, so Mitrione gets the win, Bellator debut. I don't see huge things for him, because I've never even heard of this guy who pretty much knocked Mitrione out, and, I don't know, like, could he be the Bellator heavyweight champion? Probably. Will he be? Honestly, probably, but does that really mean much? Not really. Bellator's heavyweight is not that great. I mean, who was it? Alexander Volkov? Was that him? I can't remember. He just fought in the Fight Nights card with Fedor, the Russian guy. He was pretty good. So after that, you have women's flyweight kickboxing. Gloria Pertor taking on Denise Kielholtz. Pretty decent fight, honestly. Split decision goes in the way of Gloria Pertor. Pretty solid fight. Then you have women's flyweights. Rebecca Ruth taking on Lima Lee McFarlane. Pretty good fight there too. Lima Lee looked fantastic. Got a nice rear naked choke, which I thought she choked her out like 3 or 4 times in a row. Rebecca Ruth hung in there for a little while, but eventually succumbed to the submission at 3 minutes of the second round. Then you had featherweight kickboxing, Kevin Ross, Justin Houghton. Didn't really watch this one. Kevin Ross gets it done with decision. I was kind of messing around, a little busy. And then, of course, after that, the fight that I was looking forward to the most, you had lightweight Michael Chandler taking on Patricky Freire, which is the Pitbull brother. I believe the bigger Pitbull brother. Patricky Pitbull. I'm going to call him that because everybody else does. I almost bet on this fight. Like, I was so confident that Michael Chandler was going to win this fight. Which I'm not sure if I said in my preview or not, but afterwards I was definitely pretty confident. And Michael Chandler throws just the sneakiest, I think it might have been a right hook, or right, what the hell was it? I don't even know. But it was great. It was just right on the button, just shuts his lights out. I mean, my pap is not the biggest MMA fan. He watches it with me sometimes, and he like jumped out of his seat like screaming. You know, it was a beautiful shot. Like, he's the type of guy that'll be like, when the fights are slow, like the next fight, he'll be like, what the fuck are they doing? You know, like real old school like that. Like, stand up and fight. You know, stuff like that. But it's all in good fun. So that was a good fight. I like to see good things happen to Michael Chandler. Awesome fighter. You know, I was a little worried about him for a little there. He looked a little out of it in a couple of his last performances, but he looked good in this one, so that's all that matters. And then we move on to the main event. We have heavyweight Quentin Rampage Jackson, which, you know, former light heavyweight. I don't know why this fight was at heavyweight, but it was. It was like more of a catch weight, I guess, against Satoshi Ishii. And Satoshi Ishii is somebody who I was really not that familiar with, but he, you know, kind of as Rampage would say, out-judoed me. Yeah, he out-judoed Rampage. It was not an exciting contest whatsoever. I did score the fight for Rampage, though. A lot of people didn't. I gave him the second and third round. Honestly, I'm not sure how many strikes Satoshi Ishii landed. Not very many. He controlled the fight, but he didn't do anything else but that. He got a couple takedowns, and he just sort of controlled Rampage. But I thought Rampage was the more effective fighter in this fight. Maybe not, you know, more effective fighter. Definitely the more effective striker. And the more he was the more effective fighter at the end of the day. Satoshi Ishii's takedowns were effective to take him down, but that was it. I don't know, it was such a frustrating fight because Rampage looked slow, he looked heavy. I don't think heavyweight's a good look for him. He was probably just kicking back playing Xbox or something, trying to keep his weight up or something, not really worrying about losing it for a weight cut or anything like that. Probably wasn't too excited for this fight. I was actually surprised how much props he gave Ishii afterwards, considering how frustrated and pissed off he looked during the fight. I did think the decision was right. Definitely not a super exciting fight. The last couple fights from Rampage, he looked great. I believe the Fabio Maldonado fight, he looked really good. And he didn't get a finish there, but he was like real technical and looked better than he had in a while. And he was looking good. And this fight was just like, oh, this is the Rampage I remember, the one that's like old and gonna, looks a little slow and stuff like that. Overall, not a super good event, but the Matt Mitrione and Michael Chandler fight definitely, and even to a certain extent, the Gloria Pretori fight was really, really cool. So, Bellator, Dynamite, for being Dynamite and being supposed to be this huge thing, honestly, guys, like, it was not. But, for, like, if that was a regular Bellator card, it'd be pretty solid, besides the main event. But, yeah, just Bellator's been bumming me out lately with these events, guys. I used to love me some Bellator. So, with that said, let's move into some very just brief talk on Legacy Fighting Championship 57. The only reason I want to mention this, guys, is because I do like Legacy, and I do like all these shows on Access TV, but I don't like them for their names. Like, I used to follow it a lot, where I seen, like, Sergio Pettis come through there, and different women's fighters come through there, Holly Holm, but I believe RFA was Holly Holm, but I'm not sure. I just got too busy, too many MMA events, working too much to really keep up with the low level promotions. So I slowly sort of phased out, and the only time I'll throw it on now is if I'm trying to, lay down and go to sleep or something, and there's a fight on and I don't have anything else to watch. I'll flip it on and fall asleep to it. There's always good fights. I'm not saying there's not good fights. It's just keeping up with who the champ is, because they go so fast, right? I mean, they're only there for a couple fights, and then they're on to the UFC, or they're moving somewhere else. But, it used to be fun to try to pay attention. But this one kind of sparked my interest, because I seen a guy 3-0 named Tony Kelly. He's in the main event taking on Kevin Aguilar. Now, that name sounded familiar, and then I seen his photo on Sherdog, and I was like, oh, this is the guy from the MTV reality show. There used to be a reality show, guys, on MTV called, I believe, Caged or Uncaged. Can't really remember. But one of the fighters from there I've been following for a while on these local promotion shows, and his name's Matt Danger Schnell. And he's a flyweight, and I've always paid attention to him because flyweights are so rare to come by, and I knew a little bit about him already, so I started paying attention to him. And he's actually doing really good right now. He's on like a 5 or 6 win streak, and I would not be surprised. He made a brief appearance on Dana White's Looking for a Fight. I would not be surprised which I didn't understand why I didn't focus more on him on that. But I would not be surprised if he is one of the fighters that are brought into the Ultimate Fighter house on the next season of Ultimate Fighter, where the tournament with the flyweights gets the title shot. I would not be surprised at all. But this guy, Tony Kelly, is 3-0. He fought on that show Uncaged. He went out with Tito Ortiz. I believe he got into some legal trouble, or he assaulted somebody or something along those lines, and he basically might have gotten into some trouble. That is not official, guys. Don't quote me on that. That's just my loose memory. But he is 3-0. His last fight was in 2015. He had 1-13, 1-14, and 1-15, and he had a bunch of amateur fights between 2008 and 2012, in which he went 2-3. Those, I believe, were on the show, the Caged show, and I'm pretty interesting. I will check this out just simply because I'm interested in what this guy is up to. You know, he's not super young. He's only 3-0. He's been in the fight game a long time for only having 3 fights. He is 29 years old, and he's fighting out of Team Alpha Male at featherweight. So we'll see what Tony Kelly does. Really interested because of just the history that I have, or I know of this guy, you know, being on that reality show, which actually was a pretty cool show. You know, it's almost like a regular, like, Jersey Shore, not really Jersey Shore, but, you know, an MTV type show, but it followed cage fighters. So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, guys, so I'll definitely keep you updated on that next week, but we have a lot to get to next week because that's when we'll be previewing all the UFC events coming up, stuff like that. So yeah, but final thing here, guys, we're going to move on to The Ultimate Fighter, and this, of course, was episode number 9, episode number 10. So episode number 10, titled Friends Hurting Friends. So it's finally time for the semifinals, which Team Claudia went 7-1, so Joanna only has 1 horse in the race. And then we find out that Josh Stansberry is supposed to face Corey Hendricks, but Corey Hendricks, we learned last episode, was dealing with a little bit of shoulder problems or neck problems, and it seems like he's not going to be able to fight. We then find out officially that he's not going to be able to fight. UFC President Dana White brings back Khalil, but he wants him to fight his teammate in Stansberry. So we get Stansberry coming back, but he's going to have to fight his boy Khalil. Khalil is sort of he's dealing with it kind of harshly. He doesn't want to have to fight another friend, like his first fight was a friend. So it's a little bit of a bummer for him. But so, you know, after that we find out that they're going to be doing the coaches challenge, which is always fun. The coaches challenge is where, you know, the 2 coaches face each other for, I believe, $10,000 and $1,500 per team. It was kind of a weird one. They normally do like sports, like shooting basketballs or something like that, but they have been, I guess they kind of ran out of sports. I know one sport that they haven't done, MMA. Why don't they do that on a coach's challenge? I know that would be cool, but unfortunately that will not happen. They did like a dunking thing, but they shot fucking like air guns at a fucking bullseye, and then they fucking fell in the water. It was kind of weird. Claudia Gadelha pretty much wins pretty easily. Kind of a not really close, but then Dana White throws up a little bit more money, $500 for each fighter if Gadelha can dunk Dana White, and he was pretty scared. And I gotta admit, when he got up on there and it was a little more shaky than it was with the females, it looked a little scary. You know, you kind of don't know how to fall and stuff, and if you fall wrong, you might land on the edge of the thing, and you know, looks kind of crappy. And then finally, the fighters fought. And you have Andrew Sanchez, who is 7-2, taking on 8-0 X Spicely, and Sanchez just had his way with him. Did not look like Spicely wanted to be there that much. Kind of just, you know, love-handily, and just did not look very good. So that's it, guys. That's what happened on episode 20 or episode 10. It's getting down to the wire here. I think there's only one more episode. 2. I can't remember. 2, 1. I think there's 1 and then the finale. Yeah, you know, this season I really loved the banter back and forth between Gadelha and Jacek, but that's about it, guys. This season has kind of let me down a little bit. Honestly, like, there is no, like, characters to this season. There's, like, a handful, and that's it. Like, the girls are almost non-existent. Like, you remember the strawweight season and the bantamweight season? Like, there was so much drama and different things going on with the girls. This one, not much at all. Even with the guys, for that matter. So, yeah. Anyway, guys, I'll see you guys next week for a pretty crazy episode. But for now, that's all. Peace out.